What up, everyone? It appears at this time the electoral reform promised in the 2015 election by the Liberal Party of Canada under its current leader and our current Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is not going to materialize. The party and the Prime Minister have just announced that their bid for electoral reform is going to be either put on hold or scrapped altogether. Now, with this announcement, this has given the opposition parties and overall critics of Justin Trudeau a definite chance on jumping in, piling on, to criticize him for yet another gaffe, this time breaking an election promise. Now, while I definitely agree that the Liberals broke a promise they made in the election, I must say that this is one that I'm at least willing to forgive, and I'm going to explain why. Now, the electoral reform, if we go by what the Liberals promised in the 2015 election, was that after their reform, that election in 2015 would be the last election under the first past the post system. Personally, to me, to say if changing the first past the post system is worth it, it would depend on what we're going to actually replace it with. I know first past the post is not perfect. It definitely isn't. You can end up with majority governments that don't even get the majority of the vote. And that is disheartening to a lot of people. I don't disagree. However, the devil is in the details of the system we use to replace it. Now, options the Liberals were going to be looking at were proportional representation, mandatory voting, online voting, or ranked voting. Now, a lot of those ideas I am personally against. Now, I'm not a fan of some of these ideas. Mandatory voting on paper sounds like a wonderful idea, where everybody now is by law required to vote. Which, on paper, like I said, is a great idea. In practice, I'm unconvinced. I'm sorry. Forcing people to actually vote does not change the fact that we have candidates that don't represent us. It doesn't change the facts we have candidates that aren't worth voting for, that don't deserve our vote. So, mandatory voting, as far as I'm concerned, isn't even a band-aid solution. I'm not sure what it aims to solve, other than bring turnout up, which only props up a bad system, if you ask me. Proportional representation, I am not a fan of either. Now, I've always likened the idea of the arguments of proportional representation to be essentially, let's take a hockey game, for example, where there's two teams that play and the final score is 2-0. Now, the team that actually lost argues, well, we controlled the puck for 90% of the game. The game took place 90% of the time in their opponent's zone. So we should get the win because we dominated the game. No, you lost. The other team scored all the points. The other political party deserves to win, and if they won the majority of seats in the House of Commons, they deserve a majority goddamn government. It's much like the vote splitting issue, as far as I'm concerned. If you don't appeal to enough people, you're not going to win enough seats to form much of anything. I don't understand why there is such an issue. And I don't understand why people don't see the issue I see with proportional representation. I find it awards people for not being able to do their job properly in an election. How are these extra MPs going to be chosen? Are they just going to be chosen by the party? That's not democratic at all. So, that idea should be out as far as I'm concerned. Or at least if we're going to go to a referendum on it, it needs to be explained so people understand exactly what's happening. Now, ranked voting, although ranked voting would not fix some of the issues I have brought up, like having candidates that aren't worth voting for or don't deserve our vote, I think ranked voting could help, where you can actually go to the voting booth and list your preferences. That's fine. That one I'd be willing with. An online voting, well, that one's a duh. Why don't we have online voting currently? Voting should be easy. Voting should be way easier than it is. And to be honest, voting is pretty easy today, as far as I'm concerned. So, when I look at these reforms, the proposed ideas, and how they're not addressing the actual issues we're facing, they're not addressing the fact that there is a position in a political party called the whip, where the whip essentially ensures party discipline, where all the MPs on their side end up voting for what the party wants instead of what necessarily their constituents want. A reform that doesn't address that. A reform that doesn't address the fact that in the House of Commons or the provincial legislatures, that doesn't address that it's cut into teams where one side forms the government and the other side forms various opposition parties, which means if your local representative is in the opposition side, they're not part of the government. If you're not going to address that, why bother in the first place? And every time I heard Justin Trudeau and the Liberals with their election reform nonsense, this is what I kept going on in my mind. And it blows my mind that more people are not angry at the system we got and the roadblocks that are between us and the people we're supposed to elect to represent us in government, not their parties, not their special interest, us. We voted for them. But anyway, like I said, it's for these reasons that I'm actually happy that this idea is shelved for now. If we're not going to work on a real solution, I don't think we should be doing anything at all, as far as I'm concerned. But maybe that's just the pessimist in me, but that's how I feel. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you're able to stay through the whole rant, I appreciate it. Consider leaving a comment. If you disagree, agree, or just want to continue the conversation, I don't care. Leave a comment. Consider subscribing, and overall, have yourself a wonderful day. See you next time.